What's up, guys? This is Mark again from DsG, and this is DsG 103. Selling successfully on eBay. The basics of getting consistent dropshipping sales on eBay. Now this is going to be a little longer than the previous two, but it is a very important module. I mean, every single module is important, but this one has a little more in-depth explanation and understanding. Okay? So there are 4 elements needed for consistent repeat sales. I personally like to list items that would sell multiple times a month, and I mentioned before, on a consistent basis. I have a few items that I've been selling for about over 2 years. I have one TV stand in particular I've had for over 2 years. I've sold more than, I think, close to 700 of them now, and right now I'm making about $25 profit on that item. But anyway, so the 4 elements needed are listings, obviously. You want the listings to be priced correctly, you want them to be titled correctly, and all of them need to have sufficient images. There are 2 types of listings. I like to categorize my listings under 2 types: evidence-based listings and hunch-based listings. Evidence-based listings. So these are listings based on evidence that indicate that they would sell. And the evidence that we use is the sales history on eBay, because we're selling in the eBay marketplace. So that is the information we want to use to give us some sort of inclination, some sort of idea that the item is going to sell. Hunch-based listings. These are listings based on minimal evidence. One example of this minimal evidence is like a top selling item on another site. So someone might go to Walmart, see a top selling item that, let's say a top selling crib, baby crib, and on Walmart is $100. And then you just take it to eBay, retitle it, sell it for $150, let's just say. That is more of a hunch-based listing, because the only information we have is that it's a top-selling item on Walmart. We don't know, we don't have any evidence that would say that this item would sell on eBay. We have no evidence that would say what price it would sell successfully on eBay. We have no evidence that would say what title we could use that would sell successfully on eBay. That, in my opinion, is a hunch-based listing. And there are various types of hunch-based listings. So pricing, that's one of the 4 elements. So you want to price your item correctly. You want to ensure that you have sufficient profit. This is a personal thing. I like to stick to around 10% profit. I have some people that go as low as 5% on some items, on very high movement volume items. I might go as low as 5%, right? You want to ensure that the competing listing sold recently. The competing listing is a listing that, 1, it's the same item that you're selling, and 2, it's the same title that is being sold, that's being used to sell the same item. And that is a very important fact, because they're going to have other people selling the same item with a different title, and you don't want to waste too much time worrying about those other people. You want to worry about the items that are directly competing with what you're going to sell. And that comes to the 3rd point. If you worry about the pricing of everyone selling that item, and you're not worried about the title, you're going to waste your time. You're going to waste time looking. So looking at all these different people selling. If you have enough evidence that says item X has been sold for, let's say, a price of $100, and it's been sold 30 times in the past 30 days, with a specific title, we could pretty well assume that if we sell that same item X with the same title, with more images for a lower price, the item should sell. Because basically using the same template that you know works and making it a little better. And then you want to price the item, as I mentioned, lower than your competing listing, the item that has the same title. Titling listings. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I may do a module in the future solely on titling. I personally do not, and I want to focus on the myth, I do not improve the titles of the items I'm listing. And this is why. 3 years ago, you may be able to improve the title on items that sold on eBay, but with the level of competition now on dropshipping on eBay, most of the time, 90% of the time, if an item is selling successfully, consistently, it has a good title. And then, unless you are a very good expert on titling and have a lot of experience, you may take an item that's selling consistently, change the title, and it stops selling. And it could be because you left out one of the key search terms that allow that item to sell. So I generally try to stay away from retitling, right? Add images to your listings. Adding images to your listings. So I try to have a minimum of 4 images per listing. I cheat sometimes. Some of my listings have 1 or 2 images, but generally you want to have at least 4 images. Secondly, you want to add more images than your competing listings. So the item that you found that sold a lot of times, when you're relisting it, you want to add more images than your competitor, right? This image myth below here. I've done a number of training programs that claim that by renaming your image, let's say you're selling a baby crib, by naming your image baby crib, it will help with search engine optimization, SEO. That is true and false. It is true in the sense that it should help you with search engine optimization in Google. I have seen where if you search for an image in Google Images, an eBay image may come up, but that almost never happens in Google web search. And we are competing in the eBay search. And changing the names of images on eBay does not help with the eBay search results. So I personally do not waste time renaming my images. You want all your actions that you complete in your daily drop shipping activities to have a positive effect on sales, and you have limited time. So you don't want to waste time doing completing actions that don't affect your sales to a considerable degree. So I personally do not waste my time renaming images. So on a quick conclusion, you want to list items that have successful sales history, and those are, when talking about evidence-based listings, you want to ensure that your items are priced lower than your competing listing. You want to add more images than the competing listing. You want to know when to leave the title as is and when to change, right? I personally do not waste time retitling. I may retitle an item if an item starts to sell regularly and I see that I have more space for other keywords, but generally speaking, I don't waste time on retitling. You want more quality listings than quantity. I see a lot of people that keep listing and not worrying about the quality. That has a number of effects, and I'll get into that later, but you want to ensure that you have more quantity instead of quality. And generally speaking, I personally try to have 90%, at least a minimum of 90% evidence-based listing and a maximum of 10% hunch-based listings. Because evidence-based listings, you could more or less control your sales destiny. You know that these items have sold previously successfully at a specific price, so you want to focus on those items. You want to, if you have a lot of evidence-based listings and they're not selling, I wouldn't just jump up and say, hey, let me try something else, right? That's just illogical. This is poker. Poker is actually pretty logical if you know what you're doing. But this isn't gambling. This isn't slots. We use logic, we use information to decide on what to sell. So I focus on evidence-based listings. If you want to try, sometimes you want to try on some hunch-based listings, I will get into that. I will keep that to a maximum of 10%. And that is it. I mean, this is the basics on what you need to know to sell successfully, consistently on eBay. And I mean, I hope you've learned a lot. Go into the documents that are provided below. And I hope that you stick through, and I look forward to seeing you in the next module. Have a successful day. Bye-bye.